Hey everybody, it's Simply D, and welcome back to In the Blind, or as I like to call it, My Life in the Blind, because as we know, everybody's experience is a little bit different, and, this is kind of my perspective. So, I know I've been away for a minute, but I've been doing some traveling, I've been doing some celebrating, been doing, a little bit of everything, but I wanted to catch you guys up on kind of some of the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, and why I've been a little absent from the channel. But, so I wanted to kind of jump into that and let you guys know, we're going to deal with some realities. We're going to deal with some, future plans and things like that. But, I have to start off by saying that I've been missing just recording for the channel in this format. Like, I'm trying a few new things, and as a blind person or a visually impaired person, because I'm not totally blind, depends on the day, to be honest. But I've been thinking about trying to change up, the look and the feel of how I do video on this channel. And, because I know that we do a lot of one-on-one, me talking directly into the lens, and, that works. That works for YouTube, that works for some things, but I was trying to, I think, also pay attention to the more visual people that, tune into the channel or tune into my social media or things like that. Because, honestly speaking, I don't have a lot of followers on the channel, but I do get a lot of feedback in my other social media locations about what I put on this channel, if that makes any sense. Usually because I share the link to other networks, this, that, and the other, which will actually be happening way more often because of some of the things that I'll be doing in the near future. But, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, so let me slow down and explain. One thing I had been doing lately is doing a lot of product testing. I've been talking about it, in spurts here and there, and talking about how I'll be bringing you guys some videos on what I use as a blind vlogger and why I use these tools and things of that nature. So as I was in the process of trying to put these things together, new things kept popping up and new opportunities kept popping up for me to give you guys even more information and better opportunities to get a better understanding of what will work specifically for you. Now, so let's see, like maybe a couple weeks ago, I know this is gonna be one of those no edit, no cut videos. So you gotta have to bear with me because my mind is like all over the place right now. I don't have any notes for this particular video because I just wanted to sit here and just kind of talk to you guys the way I talk to everybody else. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in the process of working on a video for the channel, and I got a lot of different questions about, how blind people work in a visual medium. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I am partially sighted. I am legally blind. I do work with a guide dog, and I also am a cane traveler. But I also am able to get around with my own sight from time to time, depending on the day, situation, and circumstance. I do have detached retina, but at the same time, stress on my eyes can cause me to lose my sight totally, where I have no vision whatsoever. So I'm kind of in the middle of every situation and scenario you can throw at somebody. I can talk about the benefits of cane travel over working with a guide dog, and vice versa, because I kind of do both. I can talk about things in a visual medium and at the same time talk about the pros and cons of someone who lives my kind of lifestyle using blind tech, what you can use and what works and what doesn't. So I decided to start positioning myself as the bridge between all these different realities. And doing that because I noticed in social media, and I noticed in a lot of places, that there aren't a lot of people who can give you that perspective in the dynamic that I'm able to. There are some great people out there that are doing great work as that are blind YouTubers and blind social media personalities and things of that nature. And I love seeing a lot of the younger people really start to come up and gravitate toward this medium, because for a long time it was kind of assumed that the blind would not be able to get involved in a YouTube or be a YouTuber or in a YouTube lifestyle because it's such a visual medium. And so when I started looking around, and I found a woman out of Canada who was doing blind tech reviews and teaching and tutorials, teaching you how to use some tech. That's how I learned how to use a lot of the accessibility software on my phone, because I had not learned how to use a lot of these features the way that others did in school or from friends or things of that nature. Recently, I came across a guy named James Rath. You got to look him up. So he's also low vision. He's visually impaired, but he uses the camera as his eye. Like me, I was doing that when I was in school as a broadcast major, and I guess my superpower was the fact that I was already using a monocular, which is like binoculars except for one eye, to kind of see the world around me. So when it came to framing shots in a camera, it just made sense to me. So when he talks about how the camera is his viewfinder for the world, I thought that was incredible. I think that, seeing somebody who is experiencing things the way I was when I was his age is incredible. And then he's also a really cool, filmmaker. Now, clearly, which is really funny, he has actually more sight than I do, because he's able to do a lot of the things that I just cannot see to do. But he has had some great opportunities, whether it was interviewing Tim Cook from Apple or, things of that nature. He is what I consider to be one of the future, he's like the future for blind, what's a good way to say it? In terms of the blind YouTuber and filmmaker, he's one of those examples that I can see, growing and becoming and doing a lot of incredible things. My way of having to come up was a little different, because a lot of these tools weren't available when I was his age. He's like 21, 22, something in that age range. I'm going to say early 20s. I don't want to lock down an age for him. But when I was that age, I had already sang with a major record label, and I was in the process of going through school for broadcasting, and there were no visual aids necessarily in place to help somebody who wanted to be working in a visual medium but had visual impairment. So my mentor and I had to get really creative with how to make that work for me. So, in which we did. But I'm taking you guys way off course, as you know I will do from time to time. I'm a radio, I do radio, so podcast type stuff. So I get to going sometimes. But I wanted to give you guys kind of a little bit backstory before I tell you. So when I think about being the bridge between the sighted and the blind world, the first time that ever came up, that came up some years ago, actually when I was younger, when my brother used to call me Blade, because I could exist in both worlds at the same time. For those of you who don't get the reference, look up Blade. Incredible movie, okay? But anyway, so especially the action scenes. I'm a big action guy, so action scenes definitely. But when I went to go train with my guide dog, I was also in a very similar situation where I was one of the most sighted people in the room, so I could see and read things that they could not see or read. But at the same time, it was comforting to know that I could also just close my eyes and have a nice game of Braille cards with everybody in the room, and not feel like I had to be either or thing. It's like both worked for me, and there was a nice balance, and I really felt comfortable in that space. So moving forward, I decided, okay, well, and at the time I still had a lot of stuff going on with Intermix, which is the group and company I own, and the group that I was a part of with Jules. And so I knew that most of my work was still going to be very visual. And now that Jules is off and she has started her family, and and she's dealing with she's on that journey, and she's continuing, and she's got just great things happening in her life, and I now am the total owner of Intermix. I started thinking about, where do I want to position the brand of Simply D, and at the same time, what will Intermix be doing? And so I started really working that out, and that's what I've been doing for the beginning of the year, was just a lot of rebranding and looking at different opportunities, as well as working with, some partners on other projects, as well as, there was just a lot of things that I do, so I had to find a way to encapsulate it all. But I did not want to let my YouTube channel just sit and do nothing. So I decided I want to be able to put out regular content. So I started really studying YouTube. I started looking at social media. I started looking at, is there a place for the Simply D brand in this format? And I found that there is. But the issue that I was running into was I do have some site limitations and I don't have a lot of the extra resources around me at times that I would need to move at the pace that I move in my head. Okay, that's like I'm not saying that there are no resources I can use to help the situations that I'm in, but but in my head things move a lot faster, and I want to be able to provide the kind of content that's going to make sense and put out something on a pretty regulated schedule as much as possible. I'm not guaranteeing 3 uploads a week or anything like that, because I know that my schedule changes from week to week and I have a lot of things going on. But I do want to at least be able to put up 1 post a week on a regular basis, whenever possible. So here's what I've been up to. I've been working at, you guys know that a lot of you guys know, some of you may not, but I am a life coach. So I spend a lot of time working with clients, helping them to create a path for themselves and helping them to get from point A to point Z without skipping all the things that matter in the middle. And that's what I also had to do for myself. I had to find a roadmap that was going to help me get from where I am right now to where I want to be maybe 3 years from now, and then set little markers along the way of things that I can do, and then also not be afraid to change my mind throughout the process. One person that I've been really just watching is Gary Vaynerchuk, who does a lot of things where he's like, you know what, if you own your company, you do your thing, don't be afraid to change your mind. Like, you may start out with a good idea and think it's a great idea, but then find that it's not working for you because you are leaning in a different direction. You don't, yes, you do want to complete things, but at the same time, when you're in the exploration part of your life or you're part of your journey, you don't want to get locked down with saying, I have to do this all the time. You need to be able to have the freedom to change your mind till you lock in on the thing that's going to work for you as an individual before you even think about how it's going to work for you as a company. And when I deal with that a lot of times with my clients, like a lot of times you get stuck in one frame of thinking because that's the way you were taught. That's how you have, you just get stuck in that framework. But you'll find that that framework doesn't work for everybody. And you'll also find that that framework can be very limiting because you assume that before you can have a career in video, you have to be, you have to go through X amount of years of schooling. You have to have X amount of, experience before you can even go and get jobs in the visual medium. But that's not even the case anymore. You can have a cell phone, which is what I'm shooting this on, and you can have, a little setup, and you can start just talking to the camera, and you can build a career on that. There are so many ways to build careers now, and I actually have a list that I'm going to be probably putting together and putting out. Haven't decided if I'm going to put it fully out, but there's a list of things you can do in the visual space to build an income for yourself as somebody who, just likes to do particular things. But there is a structure that you have to put together for yourself that matches with your strengths and your weaknesses. For example, over the last couple of weeks I've been traveling. A couple weeks ago I was celebrating 15 years of marriage, so my wife and I took a trip to Laughlin. So I shot a lot of vlog footage, I shot a lot of B-roll, I shot a lot of stuff. I shot stuff for the channel, I shot stuff for social media, because as somebody who is a public figure, I understand that every once in a while I'm going to have to pull the camera out and share my experience, and I enjoy that. My wife is even starting to enjoy that. So here I said starting to enjoy. But anyway, so she understands it. She enjoys it. She believes in investing in the vision and investing in the forward movement, because what we learn here, we also apply to other areas of our life, whether it's helping our kids develop their dreams and goals, and whether it's helping the church to understand how these mediums work. Like, there's so many different things that we can apply this testing process to, that we just say, you know what, we might as well invest. Because if you're not investing in yourself, then how are you going to ask anybody else to invest in you? So we invest time. We sacrifice a little bit of our personal time so that we can have time with you guys, so you can share in our journey and things of that nature, and we enjoy it now. Like, it's like normal. When my wife asks me, aren't you going to pull the camera out, and then she's starting to discuss like different shots we can get and different things we can do, I think it's fantastic. So that's all the pros. Now let me tell you about some of the cons. Okay, now I do have experience as an editor, but because of my site, it does take me a little bit longer to edit longer form content. So right now what I'm doing is trying to figure out how I want to do this. Lately, I've been doing these kinds of videos on this channel where I just talk directly to the camera and we just have a conversation. Then you guys hit me up, whether it's on Facebook, sometimes here on YouTube, a lot of the times, most of the time on Instagram. But this content does stir up conversation. So I think that's incredible. But now, as I sit down and I look at the projects that I've shot over the last couple of weeks, I realize it's not going to happen at the speed that I want it to happen, because the first thing I have to do is set up and figure out how I want these vlogs to look, how they're going to progress over time, and will they have enough information in them for the non-vision consumers that I have on these channels and platforms, and at the same time, will it have enough visual stimulation for those who are trying to understand my experience and my journey as a visually impaired person living life on a day-to-day basis? Okay, and also, I wanted to let you guys know I'm not the only visually impaired person on YouTube. I think I started saying that earlier, like James Rath. And then if you look in James Rath, there's also a wonderful woman out of Canada. I just can't remember her name right now, but I think I'm going to be introduced to them shortly. There's some things that have been brought to my attention and activities that I want to get involved with over the next year that really help the blind community to shine a light on all the different things that we can do. I even just came back from a convention called the ACB, which is the Association, oh wait, whew, good Lord, American Council of the Blind, okay? I don't know where the association thing came from, but the American Council of the Blind just had their, I almost called it a meetup. You see how much time I spend in social media? But they just had their convention, and I was brought out there by GDA, which is Guide Dogs of America, the place that trained Gypsy for me, and or where I got Gypsy, really. But you know, and I had a great time. I learned a lot about blind tech. I learned a lot about, you know, the different states of, I guess you can only call it like the journey, you know, journeying in the blind world, and you know, all the resources that are available and things of that nature. So I'll be putting out different videos about some of the things I've noticed, and then I'll also be talking about what it was like for me traveling as a blind person. This was the very first time I've traveled with Gypsy, you know, by airplane and things of that nature. So I'm going to give you guys the pros, the cons, and all that good stuff. Anyway, that sound you're hearing, by the way, is me just getting a bunch of emails. So anyway, but I turned this camera on. I know this has been a long thing, but I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in forever. But the reason I turned this camera on is because I wanted to let you guys know that some of the things that I planned on sharing in long form, beautifully shot, you know, excellence, may come more to you in this form, and I might just, you know, throw a couple clips here and there in there, depending on what I decide to do through the editing process. But no matter what, you guys are going to be able to see some of the content in other social media platforms. I do plan on editing a couple of these videos out for you guys, but it will take a little while because, you know, I've been sitting here for like 3 hours this morning, and I've lost my sight like 4 times because of the strain that it puts on my eyes now. And when I was editing things before for Intermix, when we had the Intermix show and things of that nature, it didn't hurt my eyes as much. Now, I don't know if it's because it's the program. I don't know if it's because I have to get used to using a different program, where the other one I kind of knew it, you know, like the back of my hand. So I didn't have to work as hard to find different things on the screen. But whatever the case may be, I may have to just, you know, hire an editor. I don't know. But whatever it is, I will continue to bring you guys some content. But there are some funny things that happen at blind conventions, I got to tell you that. And at the same time, I am also, as I mentioned a little earlier, positioning myself as that bridge between the blind and sighted world and the sighted and the blind world, because I have learned throughout my experiences that you can use blind tech for sighted purposes and you can use sighted tech for blind purposes, but a lot of times these things are not marketed toward each other. So I'm going to be testing products here on this channel and showing you guys the use case scenarios. Some things may apply to your life that you might think might be incredible. Some things are just not going to work for you, but my job is I want to be able to showcase these different things to you guys, and then hopefully be able to partner up with some companies to continue to show you guys what they have as well, because I found after talking to quite a few companies that when I was at the convention, that they have not considered how to talk to this demographic, you know, the active blind demographic, or even the not so active anymore blind demographic. But their products were built for the blind. So sometimes the product is super pricey. Sometimes the product is, you know, just not going to work for your style of living. But I think it's important that we take a look at these products and then, you know, evaluate them for ourselves. I'll tell you guys the pros, the cons, and how I use them, use different use case scenarios. There's a product right now that I'm really thinking about getting, just so I can spend a couple weeks with it and create different use case scenarios where it might be useful. But it is going to be a little bit of an investment. And when I say a little bit of an investment, it's like a subscription plan, so you can always, up or lower the plan. But I'm just looking at who needs this product. Like me as a business person who might travel from time to time, do things like that, it might make sense for me if I'm doing a lot more traveling. In my current situation, I don't know if it's going to be as useful, but I can definitely see how it would be useful later on. But I've had a chance to kind of work with it and test it in the environment in which they want you to test it in, but I want to test it in my own environment, because I believe that if you're going to really test a product, you have to test it in your everyday life and how you would use it. And I will, with most products, what I'll do is I will use it as I would normally go throughout my normal day. And since I work from home and sometimes I'm out in the community, it will vary from day to day. But then I'll also create scenarios that I think are most common for a lot of blind people and sighted people to figure out, is this something that will also work in the sighted community under these circumstances? I want to give these objects real tests so that I can tell you the real result. So anyway, this has been a long enough video, I think. But if you have any questions or you have products that you'd like me to take a look at, please let me know. Other than that, I will talk to you guys later. Please share, like, subscribe. I know this is not one of the regular videos. I'm just kind of giving you guys a channel update, I guess. And things will be growing. I'll soon be telling you guys about the new store that's coming up. I got some new products I'm putting into the store before I launch it officially. I've also pulled down, just so you guys know, temporarily which may be relevant depending on when you see this. It may or may not be relevant, but I've also pulled down the Intermix 360 page because I'm doing a lot of rebranding in the back end of it, because I realized that a lot of our public image stuff still had me and Jules, and since the company is pretty much just me now, I have to get used to the idea of saying my company as opposed to our company, and it's been kind of a process for me personally, just going through that transition. While I'm happy that things are happening in her life, at the same time I do feel like, this is just me just being real, I feel like at times there's a missing piece, like something is missing. I don't hear that joking, that laughter in my ear. I don't hear somebody saying, why don't we try this as opposed to this. Now all the decisions, all the thoughts, all the things, like and I've told people this before, I think when we had the show, like working with Jules at times was the muse that I needed to come up with creative, momentum. Like our relationship was kind of always that way. Like I was Jules's manager before I was her partner. So, but seeing her work and seeing the things always gave me an idea of which direction I could go, or something I should try, or something I could do, and so without having her, as a part of this, there were definitely the struggles, because Jules had a very complicated schedule because she worked in the fashion industry. And anybody who knows about the fashion industry understands that their schedules, although they sound normal, production and everything is not normal. So there were definitely hurdles that we always had to leap through and cross when dealing with her scheduling. But just the idea of having my friend as my partner, is something about her not being here had to change my whole mindset. Now, do I think that what's happening right now is the best thing that could be happening for both of us? Yes. But because I want my friend to just live her life, have a good time, and grow in the excellence that I know she is and know she has within her. So so I don't have any, regrets or sad moments in that. I just know for me, it's personally challenging at times for me to think about what should I do next, or how should I do this, when I've always been thinking about we, and now I have to think about me, and what can I do, and how do I move these visions and processes that I have in my mind forward. And then, because I know who I am and I know how I see the world, I also want to make sure that whatever I put together for me still exists when she says, I would love to try something like this. And I don't want to be in a position where I am not in a position to say, let me help you do that. So I'm still thinking about the we, even though this season is about me doing the me. What do I foresee? What is the vision I have for Intermix? And I finally narrowed it down. I finally zeroed that in. I finally dealt with a lot of the, when you separate as business partners, even when it's the best thing, someone said it to me. They said, but it's the feelings you go through are like having a divorce, especially when it's somebody that you care about, that you're still good with, but you just feel, but that separation, it becomes tangible in a way. And so it is definitely something that I had to work through while continuing to work with other people as they pursue their passions and things of that nature. So, but I've been able to work with a lot of people, helping them understand what's going on with them, because I always take time to understand what's happening within me. See, now I went on to a whole nother thing, but this particular topic, I'm probably going to also be talking about in other mediums. But for now, I'm going to close this out. Sorry this ran so long, but it's good to be able to interact with you guys. And don't forget, like I said a little earlier, to like, comment, subscribe. I would love to start seeing subscribers come up in this channel, but more so, I'd like to just see views grow. I'd like to see this content shared, and hopefully it can help somebody else. I'm really looking at starting to identify more with both sides of who I am, the sighted and the blind side. So let me know what you want to see. Let me know what tech you're currently using in your everyday life. And, we're going to go from there. Also, I also found out that I have a few services that I'm going to be able to tell you guys about too. And a lot of them, and some of them are free services. So I can't say a lot because I really don't know. But I found out, I'm going to try them out. I'm going to see if they'll let me come in and, talk and show them things and, show you guys what they're up to, so that maybe you can utilize some of these services depending on where you're located. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Simply D, and talk to y'all later. Bye for now.